Okay, this is going to be my first recording video of the accident that led to my disability in the military. So just quick qualification on who I am. My background was as an AW, which is a aviation combat systems operator. I was on a helicopter platform because I also was a Navy rescue swimmer. We do search and rescue for the Navy. We're trained in multiple different types of rescue scenarios, but we mainly focus on water rescue. So while I was deployed, one of my deployments, I went to the Persian Gulf. I believe we replaced the Enterprise that was on station after the USS Iowa had been attacked, and so we were basically going into a area where we were now in combat situation. We were listed as expeditionary forces. That, was a eventful cruise. But we were on our way home already when my accident happened. So we were flying from San Francisco to our base at Coronado Island, NAS North Island in San Diego. I was stationed with HS4, and typically on these return trips, what we do is we bring back extra personnel to get people the bonus of getting home early, and that's decided in a number of ways, but what we ended up with was our pilot, co-pilot, myself. I was flying first crewman, and then I had a second crewman flying as my swimmer that day, and then I had three personnel in the back of the helicopter. As we were flying back, we were over, I believe, the Sierra Nevada mountains, but we were over a mountain range flying from San Francisco to San Diego when we had a main rotor bearing failure. And what that translates to is the helicopter jerking around, dropping altitude. When it catches itself, it slams back. So it's basically just like severe turbulence. And it's an emergency situation where you have to land as soon as possible. We were over the Sierra Nevada mountains. I believe, if I remember right, we went out over the ocean as quick as we could so that we didn't crash in the mountain area. And then we ended up safely making an emergency landing at a marine landing area, I believe on one of the islands off the coast of California. The reason why this doesn't stand out that much is, number one, didn't know I got hurt. Number two, these kind of emergency situations happen, and so you remember the situation, but you don't necessarily remember all the details. And so the way I got hurt in this situation was that while the helicopter was getting violently bounced around in the air, these things are old. They're from the 60s. It was an H3 still at the time because this was late 1988, and it was an H3. We have a personnel door up to our left, so it would be on the port side of the helicopter. And then you have your cargo door that's a bigger door that's on the starboard side of the helicopter. So I'm sitting in my personnel seat, first crewman seat. So to my left is the personnel door, and it comes open while we're shaking around. The bottom stays closed, but the top of it pops open because it's one of those doors that opens like this. So the bottom becomes stairs and the top just opens up. So this top piece opens up, gets caught in the wind, rips off of one hinge, and now is hanging from one hinge. The tail rotor is on this same side of the helicopter. So I got up. While I got up to secure this door, which I ended up doing with my gunner's belt, I got thrown around pretty bad. Didn't know I was hurt though, didn't report being hurt, didn't tell anybody on the flight I was hurt. I didn't even know I was hurt. My first sign that I got hurt on this was numbness that showed up about a month later. Well, actually, I should say I complained about it a month later. I noticed it on some of my future flights that I was doing. So while we were back on base in San Diego, when I would fly, I would have numbness in my low back and weakness in my legs, which was really starting to worry me. I was about to get out. That's a separate story. About to get out, I was at the end of my enlistment, fulfilled it, and was coming due for separation in March, having this numbness. I go to the infirmary to report it, and it's initially misdiagnosed. Didn't know that at the time. It seemed like a good diagnosis. It was a very minor diagnosis originally, so was it going to impact my discharge date? I had plans. I had made plans for a educational course to get me back into employment once I left the service. So since it was a minor thing and it wasn't operable at the time, they said, I opted to get out. And so I transferred over to the reserves after I got out and went on to college. But this whole time I'm continuing to have numbness, continuing to have weakness in my legs. And one of my visits to a civilian doctor now, they said I didn't have what the Navy doctors said I had, which was a polynoidal cyst. So they said I didn't have one. So now I'm in this situation where I don't know what's causing the problem. And the symptoms go away for a while. They go away, they come back. And at this point in my life, they had gone away, so I wasn't too worried about it. Over the next 2 years, though, it progressed, and I eventually ended up having to have my first surgery when they did diagnose me correctly. So what ended up happening was I had a spondylolisthesis, which is a fracture to one of the vertebrae in my low spine. It eventually put pressure. And then after that, I had to have the surgery. The surgery didn't go right. It ended up making me worse. It was, essentially a failed fusion, but it also caused more damage because of something that happened during the surgery. So I ended up with more damage to that area of my spine, the sacroiliac joint in that, and it ended up affecting my ability to walk. I ended up eventually having 7 spine surgeries now, and use a wheelchair once in a while, depending on how far I gotta walk. And that's pretty much been my life now since this accident has happened. Severe symptoms. I have nerve damage in all the nerves in my low back that affect my legs, and I also have damage in my neck that I eventually had operated on. And I'll see if I can inject a couple images of some of my history there. But that's basically my background as far as like how I ended up in the situation I am medically. So because of that, I have good times, I have bad times, and during my good times I try to function as best as possible. So you'll see me walking, and other times you'll see me, I'll be in a wheelchair. It's just the way it is. Right now, just severe burning pain in my traps up here and stuff. it ain't stopping me from doing this. But I do need to take a break, and so I'm going to cut it here, and appreciate you checking this out.